thank you, and welcome to DC. So this is hometown for all of us. Thank you all for being here. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk a little bit about vision in baseball. All right, so something that's obviously near and dear to all of our hearts. Helped us win a big shiny ring a couple years ago. So we're gonna give as much perspective as we can about vision in baseball and how all of you can take something home that you can use with your teams next week. Budgets are not an issue. We are talking about things that can be done for absolutely nothing, all the way up to sort of some of the elite things that we do at the pro level. So we're going to take you through a little bit of everything. Just some cool little pictures of where we all started. And Sim was supposed to be with us here today. He had a scheduling conflict, so I popped him in there just as a thank you for considering it for us. But vision in baseball. Okay, so vision in baseball is probably not something we need to spend more than 30 seconds talking about. Is vision important to baseball? Sure. I mean, we are the low-hanging fruit in the sports world in America. For me, talking to NBA, NFL, NHL, it's very different than talking to these guys. The importance of vision in baseball is obviously premium. So if we decide it's important, why are we not doing at least something to make our team better at vision in baseball? So what does it look like for us? Vision in baseball includes more than just, are you 20/20 or not? We have things like reaction speed testing, eye tracking, visual processing, sort of the visual decision-making link, contrast, depth perception, all of these words are part of vision in baseball, not just are you 20/20 or not. We have a lot of players in spring training that I'm going to see here in a couple weeks that are 2020, 2015, 2012. But that's just where we start, okay? So organizational importance. I want to spend a little time on this. Organizational importance for us is that we have put an emphasis in vision in baseball. That's all I'm trying to get across, is that it is important. We talked to a high school coach backstage who said, look, vision's important for baseball. So I decided to build something on my own that I could use to help my team train their vision. All you have to do is decide if it's important. If it's important, figure a way to build it into your program. So for us as an organizational importance, what do we do? It starts in spring training. I'll head out of town here in a couple of weeks, or almost a month, I guess. We'll be down there. I think pitchers and catches for us are on the 12th of February. So I will see every single player in our organization, about 200 plus players, in all the levels of the minor league all the way up through, because we want to test all of our players exactly the same. That's our organizational importance. We have top-down testing, so we've actually established our protocols from the big league level, which I'm going to have Darnell talk about here in a second, but why that's important in establishing the culture and the understanding that vision testing is going to be consistent from the big league level all the way down through. And I think that's where my communication starts with players and getting a chance to build relationships that are going to be important and critical for us in establishing some of those training protocols and what can we do to push the ball along a little bit in vision performance. So Darnell, let's talk a little bit about that top-down approach. Why is that important for us? That the guys we just drafted, or guys on maybe a low 18 for us, are seeing the big guys on the 40-man roster getting tested and training implemented the same way it's going to work for them.
Well, I honestly think that, understanding how players work and how they go about their day, coming into spring training, it's been established that we are going to have an eye program, vision things that are going to allow us to be better as a whole. So Doc sat down with me, I sat down with him, we kind of bounced some ideas back and forth, and we came up with what we feel like, and Doc's done all the heavy lifting. I've just kind of tagged along with all the stuff that's going on, because I've had to do it in 3 different spots. I had to do it in Milwaukee when I was the head guy there, I had to do it in Arizona when I was the head guy there, and now being the head guy here in DC. It's important that each one of our players understands, what their dominant eye is, which isn't their dominant eye. How can I fix things? How can it be structured so that our guys that we can get the best out of our guys? And in any sport, it doesn't matter if you're playing basketball, baseball, football, vision is what keeps you in a good spot, in a good space. It allows you to understand what the ball's doing, the movements of the ball, whether it's bouncing different directions or those sort of things. So Doc's implemented a plan from the major league level down. Each guy gets tested. We want to know what their vision is, whether it's 2020, 2015, 2012, whatever that is. There's some major league standards. There we go. But there's some major league standards, what the average is, and I'll let Doc go over that. What the major league average is as far as vision goes, what elite players' vision is compared to guys that kind of struggle to see certain things, but there's ways that it can be fixed by doing exercises and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and then Steve, from a communication standpoint, like you said, we met many years ago in that same training room. Actually, it was a little bit further north in Vieira back then. But what's it like from a player standpoint? You're seeing some things that maybe you haven't seen before in a vision test. Is there any anxiety to that? How do you feel about getting tested? Is there anything that says, I don't want to find something wrong with me, but like, do I want to get better? Like, how does it work from a player standpoint when you first have this introduced to you maybe for the first time?
When I first got drafted, hey, I'm looking at the guys ahead of me. What are they doing? What are the guys in the big leagues doing? So I think that's huge. Set the tone at the top level. I'm all for getting tested. I mean, I wouldn't even think twice. I'm trying to get an edge any way I can in the game. The game's too hard. You got to find any edge you can get. I think it's a no-brainer to get your eyes tested and then see what you need to work on. No question.
And I think, again, it's sort of building a trust level for me with players. I put this slide up a little bit here just because this is one of the things that Sim was going to talk to. One of the things that I did, just as a team doctor, is building that trust was really critical for me from the very beginning, day one. I'm working with a guy, Ryan Zimmerman, who's a future Hall of Famer. I'm testing his vision. He passes everything with flying colors. I don't want to be the guy that says there's something wrong with you, and I, this vision guy, can fix something about your game when you are playing at an elite level right now, and it's okay to be perfect. So one of the things that really built a huge level of trust with me and him is for me saying, hey, thank you, everything looks great, have a great season, stay healthy. Next, okay, that built a layer of trust for me that, hey, this guy isn't in here trying to do things the wrong way. All of you can find a sports vision eye doctor out there somewhere. There's resources through the American Optometric Association sports vision section, Sports Vision Pros, the International Catholic Sports Vision. Find a sports vision doctor. That's what they do. That's what they live for, is testing your team and giving you some of these data points. So for me, part of that was just saying you're okay, saying you're perfect, and then moving on. So the standardization of the testing is obviously critical. That may change for us year to year because technology changes. So as it changes, I might evolve my test and add something new for us. We're going to bring something new to testing this year we didn't have last year because we're following the science and trying to stay a step above every other team in our amazing league, right? So we start with the standardized testing. We go to remediate deficiencies. So that's, I found something. There's an issue here that I want to fix. Okay, then I have those 6 weeks of spring training to fix the issue, right? And then we get into the visual enhancement opportunities. So we're gonna go through all of this. Everything's in your handout. You guys don't have to take notes. I gave you tons of resources and websites to go to. But that's our basic steps approach, okay? The one thing there was that pyramid of sports vision, which kind of standardizes what I'm looking at, building a foundation for players, going into remediating deficiencies, and then pushing the envelope, okay? That's what our training room looks like. So it's got a lot of different equipment in it. That's set up and ready for me when I come through the door here in a couple of weeks. It's got all of these capabilities for me to test all the different visual skill sets that are necessary in sport. The remediation of deficiencies. Once we see an issue, what is that remediation? If it's a level 1 issue for me, it's glasses, contacts, right? Simple and easy things. But there's some really cool sport-specific things. We have contrast-enhancing filters in glasses and contact lenses. We have nutritional supplementation that we can use for athletes that might have trouble seeing in day games versus night games. We can fix that with nutritional supplements. We have muscular imbalances that come in. That's where I take them kind of to the weight room. We build up some of those muscular skill sets. There's some wonderful online and vision training programs that are accessible to every one of you now. Those are in your resource packet. Foundational visual skills, eye tracking, eye scanning. All of these things can be fixed very easily, and we do that in 6 weeks before we head into the season and go into the more enhancement protocols. Old school, new school, I think having a little bit of both is great, and that's what this room is, right? We have the top of the top and elite pro coaches. We have travel guys that might be working with 13, 14-year-olds. All of this can be done with old school, new school technology at any of those levels. I think it's best to integrate both. What does it look like for us? Are things like this, okay? So these are some of the technologies that we just have in place at every level of our organization, as well as in our spring training facility. Strobe training glasses, very easy and accessible. The middle picture here is our Sports Vision Pros kit. We have a training kit in a bag you can take out to your team and work with tomorrow. Very low cost, very easy, and an advanced kit that actually has the strobe in it. So easy. Comes with online resources, videos, drills, and virtual reality. A lot of you have seen virtual reality. Virtual reality has made a huge name in the baseball world, right? more so than any other American sport, virtual reality has a place in baseball. So we utilize it, and we'll talk about how we utilize it a little bit differently. But let's talk a little bit about the old school, new school approach. You guys have both played, you've both been involved with the league. What did the training look like for you, Steve? Old school, new school. I know we started kind of old school, but you've also seen some of the virtual reality stuff. So tell me what it looks like for you.
Yeah, when I really dove into it with Keith once I got to the big leagues, and I found I had about 3 or 4 drills, routines that I would do. One was a ring with 4 different colored kind of wiffle balls on it. I'm sure you guys have seen that. And you're working with a partner, and they're throwing the ring and they're calling out a number, and you got to catch the right color. Another thing was a rock string with 4 or 5 different colored beads on it. This is something I could do on my own. I would attach the string to a door or somewhere on the wall, and I spread the beads out, and I'm locking in on the first colored bead. As soon as I get it locked in, I'm going to the next one. To the next one, I try and speed up. I go back and forth, back and forth. And then the other thing I would do is 3 different colored balls, and I would have one of my eyes closed. I use a strobe glasses for that, or an eye patch. And I have somebody throw, they were red, white, and blue balls. If it was a blue ball, I was catching it with my right hand. If it was a red ball, it was with my left hand. If it was a white ball, I caught it with both hands. My wife even helped me for many years. She just sit there 4 feet away, and she's tossing them quick, and I'm reacting to them. So those were a few things I did, and I kept it the same once the season started. Off season, I'm training 3 days a week doing those things. During the season, it's probably 1 to 2 days a week maintaining. And then now with the new school stuff, it's pretty cool to see. What are they?
Yeah, the VR.
Yeah,
The Oculus is sort of the big one. The Oculus unit is pretty standardized. Buying an Oculus system is pretty inexpensive these days, about $250, $300 on Amazon. The Oculus Quest 2, now there's a 3. It's sort of like buying a PlayStation for your kids. You're familiar with gamers and Xbox and PlayStation. So once you have a unit, you can upload various different games and technologies. The big one in baseball is Win Reality, where it's the virtual batting cage where you can stand in your garage and see pitches or actually take swings at pitches. But we utilize it with actually some other games that we also upload in there. There are visual skills training games we'll talk about a little bit more. But yeah, so the VR unit, tell me about that.
Yeah, Keith sent it to me about a month ago to test out, and it's pretty wild. Like I said, it wasn't there when I played. I finished, I think it was just starting to get into the game, but I finished about 3-4 years ago. And I think it's pretty cool. I haven't tried the actual swinging and hitting the balls, but where I think it would be pretty neat is definitely you're able to, say you're facing a certain pitcher that night, you're able to go in and sit there and track pitches. To be able to sit there 50, 100 pitches, seeing that pitcher's wind up and the ball coming in, for me, that's a no-brainer. Without even trying to get, I think that's awesome to get those reps. So
Darnell, let's talk a little bit about the way we started spring training, and then we go into the season. But what the guys feel like, what their appetite is for some of the older school technologies, which I think are still really, really relevant, and then obviously the new school technologies. Tell me a little bit about how the players.
Well, I think in most cases, guys want to get better. I think that ultimately you want to be able to get yourself in a good hitting position. You want to be on time. You want to make sure that your head's not moving and that you're able to get in position to see the ball instead of trying to get ready while you're seeing the ball. I think that a lot of that is being able to pick up the ball sooner, being able to understand what your body's doing and how your body's moving. And then now having the visual presence to be able to recognize faster, be a shorter, quicker swing, be able to stay inside the ball, and then now hit the ball where it's pitched. You can't anticipate. A lot of guys, and I think over the course of time, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room say, okay, the new launch angle type deal, where everything, if you hit the ball in the air to the pull side, the numbers are better than hitting the ball out the middle the other way. Well, the other side of that is what if they don't give you a pitch to pull and hit in the air? Now what are you going to do? So you got to be able to understand game plan and how to be pitched and all the other stuff, and have that be relevant to visually. How am I able to adjust? How am I able to do exercises that are going to put me in the best position to be successful? And then ultimately, how does that translate into a full lineup of guys that have bought into that product?
And I think for us, spring training is a way of introducing those technologies, right? So getting a chance for them to bite off a little bit of something they haven't chewed before, get a taste for it, and what do I like? going into the season, do I like using strobe training glasses? Do I like using a little bit of a mini ball sort of drill? Years ago, I think I told the story a couple years ago back, but Daniel Murphy for us was a huge vision training guy. He came in with his own ideas. He had multiple different balls, and these were baseballs that were painted with different things. He put little blue circles on some and red squares on others and green triangles on others. And he would stand there and he would just see what's coming in, and he would call it out, before he started swinging, right? And then he had numbers. He had, I think it's 7 baseballs, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 5 that fits across the plate, and he cut them in half and numbered them 1 through 5. So he would stand there, watch the ball come in, and then eventually get to a swing mechanic. So he was actually swinging in the cage, and every time he took a swing, he would tell you green triangle number 2, which means he hit a green triangle and it crossed the plate at number 2. So you talk about that level of sort of attention to detail, right, in spring training, and that's a routine for him that carried him through as close as you can have to a professional hitter, right? I mean, this guy showed up and hit every day for us, and every team he played for. But you played as well. You were in the big leagues for 14 years. Tell me where you first saw vision come into play for you, and then into your coaching ranks.
Well, I think it was later in my career. Obviously, these guys are a tad bit younger than I am, but I think that when I first came into the league, it was just basically you come. You take as many reps, soft toss, not a whole lot of side toss, not a whole lot of cross toss or any of the newer drills. And it was hit as many breaking balls as you could and just work on hitting the ball up the middle the other way. Now, as Steve has talked about, I've been on the coaching side for a while. Now it's been, all the different mechanisms that we're able to, the VR, the strobe, because again, when you're hitting and you're hitting with strobes on, I think a lot of it is players are uncomfortable, but in order for them to get comfortable, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to practice harder and faster so that the game's easier. So if you're even if you're trying to quote unquote trick your player into doing something that you want him to do, it doesn't necessarily have to be on the hitting side. You can say, okay, I'll tell you what, put these strobes on when you go out to defense. And then now, whether you're catching, and now you're trying to catch the ball with all this chaos going on, and then all of a sudden now you step in the batter's box and all the chaos is gone. Yeah. And then now you can really functionally be aware of where the ball's coming from, understanding what your body's supposed to do, and then be in the best position to attack the ball. While understanding any kind of movement, you're still able to make your adjustments throughout your swing.
Yeah, and for those of you who haven't seen a strobe training glass before, it's just one of those really unique pieces of technology that's very, it gives us varied ability to do training with it. So actually one of the pictures here, you're seeing a guy do an infield drill with his strobes on. There are guys that will just take teamwork with their strobe on, but a strobe training pair of glasses, will essentially flicker on and off, like you can imagine the old school strobe lights. And I always say it is like, so what's the benefit of it? It's like Steve getting ready to go out and play for us. And, we have a night game, all the lights are on, he's getting ready to, have an at-bat in the 7th inning. And then, Darnell sneaks back to the light switch and starts flipping the light switch on and off while he's trying to take an at-bat, okay? So instead of seeing the information, the full information of release point to when I'm going to initiate a swing, okay? You're only seeing the ball here, here, here. With training, and again, the studies on strobe training says you can get a neurological benefit in as little as 2 sessions, and that's 2 sessions of 15 minutes. Already you're changing the brain's ability to process information. So you're essentially speeding up the decision-making part of the game for him, okay? So now, by making the same decision of, I need to swing, I need to make contact, whether it's with a wiffle ball and little bat, whether it's with those colored balls we were talking about, whether it's catching a vision ring like here, my son doing before his high school baseball game. So it's making that activity, fielding, hitting, catching, or whatever, so much more difficult that when you go to the game with the full visual information coming back, it's sort of like the game moves in slow motion. So that pitch now is moving in slow motion, okay? We know how critical that is. We know about the studies that say 0.3 of a second it takes to hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. 90, okay? I know, 90 right now is Division III college baseball, okay? 0.3 of a second is all you have. So if I could buy you a 10th or 0.2 of a second, you're going to see that pitch a little quicker. You're going to get around on that pitch, or at least foul it off if you got fooled. Okay? So doing whatever you do with strobes translates to the game. So to Darnell's point, if we take a guy into a catching drill, no hitting drill, but he steps onto the plate that night, he's got the benefits of it. So Steve and I, again, go way back. I know for you, and this was a time before the DH in the National League. So Steve got a lot of pinch hits for us later in the game. And you had a routine when you kind of saw the game playing out a certain way that I was going to go probably get an at-bat in this game. And you go down in the cage, you grab your stroke, you have a routine. Let's talk about what that routine looked like when you thought, hey, I'm going to get at bat, or maybe I'm going to start today. Tell me about that.
Yeah, this was one of my biggest things for vision training that I did was use these strobes. And I would have these small baseballs. They're about golf ball size, but they look exactly like baseballs. And they got the similar weight to them. I'd have somebody 20 feet away from me throw about 5 of them. And I have the strobes on and they're flickering. I'm sitting there. I wouldn't load, I'm just using my eyes. I'm just tracking them in with my eyes. Throw 5, and then the pitcher would step back 5 more feet, throw another 5, step back, step back, step back. So I got about 25 to 30 pitches with the strobes on. The last round or two, I'd take the strobes off because I always wanted to be as game-like as possible as before I went into the game. So by the time he's already back there, I'm like itching, I'm ready to hit this ball. And I'm just tracking. I take the strobes off, and everything even slows down even more. Now he's further back, and I'm seeing the whole thing. His wind-up slowing down. I'm seeing the ball come in. So that was my last thing I would do before I went into a game if I was starting that night or if I was pinch hitting. I would get warmed up. I'd take some swings, but then I would track these pitches. I'd also do it there's a pitching machine down in one of the cages in DC. That was another thing. I speed up the pitching machine and put the strobes on, do it that way too. So I think the strobes are a game changer. I think it's an awesome piece of equipment.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this a little the other night. Like you just were in that attack mode from seeing it and itching and wanting to get at it. So and again, this is I think a curious question for both of you. Is it easier to have your mind swinging and then not swing, or not swinging and then swing? So are we in attack mode, but then we want to stop? Or do we want to stop until we go?
Attack mode.
Yeah, right? Tell me about that.
Well, I'm in total agreement with that. Obviously, I wanted to hear, I'm going to talk from the coaching side of it.
Sure.
Is that, anytime you're getting it's the same thing when you're filming ground ball as when you're hitting. You're getting ready to attack the ball, or you're getting ready to see the ball, and instead of seeing the ball, and then now I'm going to go get it. So you've got to put yourself in the best position to be successful. And that is understanding how your body works. I know we're going to continue to talk about this, but if you understand how your body works, if you get yourself in a good position, if you're able to get into your backside, hold it, and then now be able to get the separation that you need without the head movement, now you're going to be in the best position to hit the ball. Visualization, I couldn't stress it enough. And it's not an expensive way to go, because I think in some instances you can add it to the physical and all that. Just knowing which eye is your dominant eye, knowing what your tracking patterns are or the lack thereof, knowing that there's exercises out there where you can spend $20 a week or $20 a month where you can go on and do certain things and load things and unload things and make it a little harder, and then you retest in a couple of weeks, and if things are better, boom, then you can kind of shut it down or kind of kick it to the side a little bit and kind of keep it going. But I think at the end of the day, this is the one piece that's going to allow a player to go from here to here in the shortest amount of time. You can be the most talented player in the world, but if you can't see when you're hitting, if you can't see when you're fielding, if you can't have a understanding of how your body works and visually what you need to accomplish, then it's going to be tough.
So, I wanted to show a little bit on the metric side of things. Obviously baseball is a metric-driven sport. We talk about data, analytics, and numbers that we use to make, just about all the decisions we make these days. Obviously our gut's still part of it, but I wanted to show you what it looks like for me on the clinical side when I'm testing players in preseason. So this is an existing technology that I'll use in spring training. It's a technology called Right Eye. It's actually built right here in Bethesda, Maryland. But that's a profile of a player who's got areas of tracking, what's called saccadic function or scanning, and fixational stability. So if you just look across the top and look at those scores, those are actually tracking patterns. So those are following his eyes, doing simple things. Follow a circle, follow a side-to-side cursor, follow a vertical cursor. Keep your eyes locked onto an invisible bullseye in the center of the baseball, okay? And this kid, high school kid, shows up with a profile like that. And I say, okay, well, let's do some work. Let's spend about 6 weeks doing a little bit of rehab. Let's teach your eyes how to work better together as a team. So that's his pre, okay? 6 weeks later, look at that. Okay, so the tracking patterns, the scanning patterns, and look at that last one, the targeting mechanism, his ability to lock onto that invisible target in the center of the baseball, massively different from the before and the after. So we can quantify this now. We can't just say, how do you feel? Great. How's your batting average? Great. Well, batting average, as we know, has a lot to do with a lot of different things. Maybe they worked on their swing mechanic a little bit. Maybe they spent some time in the cage with their hitting coach. This is something that's absolutely quantifiable. So I know that vision made a difference for this kid in his overall performance, okay? And I don't say he's just hitting, right? I mean, this is our pitchers, our catchers. I want everyone to have a maximized visual performance system because those pitchers are still getting comebackers to the mound. There's still a safety component to that. Our catchers obviously receiving the ball, massively important from a vision standpoint. So this is one of the technologies that we use. Another one is something called synaptic. And the way you read this, it kind of looks like a little bit of a spider web. The darker colored scores are what happened in the beginning. So what happens in this profile is it tests more data points. So I get things like reaction speed, I get multiple object tracking, I get visual decision making, I get what's called a go, no go response, which is exactly what we just talked about from a hitting standpoint. I'm going until I don't go. Okay? So it's not no, go, go, it's go, no, go. So I'm testing their ability to see something and then hold, okay, if it's just not the pitch they want, right? So that profile shows what it looked like in the beginning. And this is a VR program only. So this is a program we use called Sharp Eye Shootout. Which can be uploaded into the Oculus. So anyone who already has one with their Win Reality on it, great program. I love it. I think highly of it. We upload Sharp Eye Shootout as well because it's a visual skills training game. So what it's doing is it's training tracking and depth perception. But it doesn't look like baseball. It doesn't feel like baseball. I can have many, many times, and you know these guys too, that were gamers, right? And we gave them all kinds of technology that made a difference. It wasn't fun enough for them to play. So we're building the fun factor back into vision training where a guy can play a little virtual shooting gallery with shooting aliens and multiple colored targets and all these fun things that make a difference when they get to the field. So that dark pattern is all there before, and 6 weeks later, those lighter blue shading are the improvement areas. So massive improvement in some of these areas, okay? And we've quantified this. So my quantification, what I'm seeing is an overall visual skills improvement of about 30%. That's huge. Visual skills, I mean depth perception, tracking, scanning. We get improved reaction speed by 0.2 of a second on average. That's massive. I just told you 0.3 is what it takes to hit a 90-mile-an-hour pitch. So 0.2 is huge. Okay, let's talk about our internal metrics. What did we see last year implementing probably vision training at a higher level than we ever had? Tell me about these team metrics. What do they mean to us?
First of all, it helps with your timing. I think you have a great understanding as to when to go and when to not go, just like we talked about. And then your path. Once you get to that spot where you feel like you're confident and comfortable, now you separate, and then now you consistently can keep your bat in the zone as long as you possibly can and be adjustable, which allows the accuracy to increase. So as a whole, I think last year, we felt like there were some things we still need to improve on, but the consistency of understanding and the rhythm and timing and the accuracy of being able to hit balls hard on a regular basis showed up a lot more than the year before, and we're in a great place going into this year.
Yeah, tell me about some of the things you felt or saw, Steve, as a player. You mentioned kind of just making you feel locked in or different. So tell me about the gut feel and then how important it is to have the data to back it up too.
Yeah, you want to go into every game ready to go. So that's where I use that tracking tool, and you want to take that right into the game. So. One thing that sticks out too is if I'm hitting BP and I feel off, the first thing I would do is I wouldn't swing. I'd take like 2 or 3 pitches. You might get your BP thrower a little upset with you, but I would track a couple pitches just to calm down, see the ball again, reset. So that's something I would do a lot. I think it's awesome to see the data to back it up is huge. But again, you gotta find any edge. Any way you can in this game to get better. There's so much competition, so I think it's awesome to see these numbers.
Yeah, and again, we talked about a lot of this obviously from a flow level, but one of my passions is youth sport. And what I feel is most important for the communication today is what we can do to help athletes be the best version of themselves. So if you can take a kid who's 12 years old, playing travel ball and struggling, getting to that level where the game's moving quicker, they're getting some off-speed pitches for the first time, and they're struggling. Think vision. If you have this kid who physically looks like he should be able to play the game and he's struggling, he's striking out, get him looked at, get him evaluated, look up and find a sports vision doctor, get them tested, because if that kid struggles in this game, we know he's not going to play this game very long, right? He's going to stop playing, right? So my passion is if I can get that kid the help he needs, get him improvement where he can have improvement, he'll be more successful in that game. He'll keep playing that game. And in my mind, then he learns the life lessons that sports has involved. And you guys as coaches have an amazing opportunity to touch lives and change lives and help kids learn those life lessons. So from our standpoint, if I can make them successful at playing the game, they keep playing it to learn those life lessons from you. You got kids now? How important is that? The life lessons of the game. And what we want from the youth level all the way up is them to have a chance to be successful, right?
Yeah, I got my little man, he's in here. He's 6 years old, so we're just getting started. But I look at everything that I learned in the game, and now that I'm done playing, I'm able to implement it in what I'm doing now in the next stage of life. So there's so many life lessons. The game teaches you to handle failure, do the good and bad. So it's amazing. So it'll be fun to work with my boy and my daughters, but and just to see them grow. But yeah, to be able to teach them more than baseball, to use it as life lessons, like you're saying.
And then, I wanted to talk a little bit here as we're getting close to wrapping up in the next couple of minutes, but home games, road trips, obviously big for us in the big league level. We may have a 10-day road trip where we're gone for a long time. At the elite college level, you're still on road trips and even travel ball, right? We're heading out of town for a long tournament weekend. What did it look like home games versus road games? We have some technology, obviously, that's too big and not portable enough that we leave in Nats Park for us to train when we're at home. But we have things like VR and Strobe and things we can take on the road, some of the mini balls or maybe like that travel kit. But what did it look like home games versus road games for both of you? Darnell, tell me what our home game and road game protocol looks like.
Well, at home, I mean, it's a little easier because you have two cages. And you've got the reaction board on one side, you got the VR, you've got the strobes, and you got all that. So you've got different things going on the road. You got one cage, and you're trying to hit 13 guys in a short amount of time. So you're better off taking probably the strobes are probably the easiest to carry. The VR can when you're loading and downloading and trying to find time there, it makes it a little more difficult because obviously you get to the park a little later. So a lot of that stuff they probably have to do in the hotel. But you can always, when they jump in, the strobes are always something that they can jump in and get their work done, whether it be front toss, side toss, cross toss, bounce toss, however you want to do that. And maybe go into some short overhand drills where they can kind of get a feel for what you're trying to accomplish as far as routine goes. But I think either way it goes, I don't think there's any excuse one way or the other. You take what you need on the road, you take what you need at home, and you find a way to get the job done.
Yeah, so Steve, you talked about the first days of bus trips and things like that you might be able to do on a bus, but also things that we did, in the hotel room and things that you had access to in the park. So what are your home and away routines?
Well, before you answer, I'll tell you what, when you're on the bus, it might be a little, because you got the bus jumping around, you got the strobe on, so that might be a little much.
Yeah, it adds an extra layer of complication there, doesn't it?
Exactly. Similar to what Darnell said, we have the reaction board in DC, so you got to get a little more creative on the road. Maybe not as many techniques, tools that you can take with you, but strobes for sure. The other thing I would do is I go out early. Pitchers are usually throwing their bullpens early in the day. I go out there and track 4 or 5 pitchers, sit in on their bullpens. So get a little more creative. Yeah, probably doing a little more in the hotel before you get to the field. But I bring like my bag along, like you said, with all those, the ring, all that kind of stuff. So just get creative and do whatever you can to get prepared each and every night.
Yeah, and so, some resources for you, the Sports Vision Pros. It's a website that I own, and it's completely free. There's absolutely no membership or anything you need to do with it. All it is a resource for athletes, coaches, parents, to be able to go on, look at, athlete interviews, coaches interviews, speaking about new technologies, what's coming out, what's new, how to utilize those technologies. There's a Strobe Glass Academy library on there, so you can go on and look at sort of the how-to, how do they work, why do they work, How does it become more difficult? We actually slow down the strobe to make it more difficult. So there's various speeds to it. As we slow it down, it gets more challenging as you can see. But how to use the strobe, and then some basic drills for baseball and every other sport. If you have kids playing other sports, just to get your mind going, and then figuring out what works for you and for your team. There's a right eye training room in there that has about 200 drills that are absolutely free. You can go in the backyard tomorrow and actually use some of these drills that you think might be good based on what that player's level of difficulty might be. Has great resources, has the link into the training kit. Again, super easy to take home and take onto the field or in your backyard. I use it with my own kid. And then the Sharp Eye Shootout, again, an easy game to download into the Oculus. If you have one, if you got one for Christmas, it's literally $15. It's a $15 lifetime game that will build visual skills. The importance I think you need to take home is how often we need to do this stuff. So the studies tell us we need to do visual training, whether it be with the old school techniques, whether it be with the strobes, whether it be with VR. The studies that were done through Duke University, Air Force Academy, we have several different studies. Say 3 times a week for 15 minutes. That's all we're saying. And that makes a difference and keeps it. So as we get ready for spring training, our guys are going to come back. With their devices, I have guys I'll look forward to speaking to again in spring training here in a couple weeks. Hey, Doc, what's new? Hey, what's out this year? What can I add this year? And guys that are new to the team that we're going to talk about, hey, have you seen this before? And it's amazing how many times I talk to elite guys from elite programs that haven't seen this stuff before. So this is stuff we can all take back tomorrow. Simple, easy stuff, but 3 times a week. 15 minutes is all it takes to make a difference for your players and change the lives that we all hope to change. So again, I can't thank these guys enough. It's been an amazing run for us. We look forward to continuing to do this and get back to getting another one of these shiny things here in a couple of years. So thank you guys for your time. Have a great time at the show, and come visit us in the green room.